So you want to create mods for Farming Simulator, then you need the Giants editor. Whether you're a complete beginner or just need a refresher or just want to grab some tips and tricks, this video is for you. Hi there, I'm Nadine and I hope today you are ready for the first tutorial video. Today we'll cover everything from downloading Giants editor to understanding its essential components and tools. So let's dive right in. So what is Giants Editor? Giants Editor is a free software developed by Giant Software. It's the tool to create or modify mods for Farming Simulator. The Giants Editor is not a 3D modeling program. To do that, you need a different software, but we will also cover that in this tutorial series. So let's switch to my computer and get started. First things first, let's download the Giants editor. I already opened the official website by Giants. This is gdn.giants-software.com. When you first come to the page, you will not see the download menu because you first need to register on the page. So click here on register. I did that already, so I just log in. After you have logged in, you now see the download section up here in the menu. Click on that. And there, the first download you see under Editor is the Giants Editor version 10. Click on that and download it. Save it somewhere to your computer where you can find it. So once you downloaded the Giants Editor, you need to install it. Run the installer and follow the prompts to set it up on your computer. I will not show the installation in detail. While it installs, let's have a look at the documentation page. Here you find a documentation for the editor. It's not a lot. It's just this one page. It's not very detailed. We will probably cover like 90% of it in the first few videos about the Giants editor. On the bottom of the page, you also have a reference about the keyboard shortcuts, so that's definitely worth having a look at it. We'll see each other once we have installed the Giants editor and started it for the first time. This is what the Giants editor looks like when you first start it up. We have a big window in the middle. This is the viewport. And then we have on the left side the scene graph and on the right side the attributes. On the bottom we have the console, and here the program shows all kinds of log messages but also errors. I immediately grab that one and move it to the right because I don't like it that it's so big. So I just move it with the mouse, and at some point you can see that the attributes pane will go blue. And then I can just let it go, and it will attach itself to the bottom of the attributes panel. If you don't see any of these windows, just go to the window menu, and here we can find attributes, console, scene graph, and also viewport. I will not go into detail of all the menus and buttons over here. We will just cover that as we go. We immediately start creating our first object. For that, we go to Create, Primitives, and then Cube. That cube shows up in the viewport and it's automatically selected. And now you can also see something in the attributes over here. The most important fields for the beginning are the translation, rotation, and scaling settings. At the moment, that cube is a bit floating in space and it's hard to see the relative size of it and anything. So to get a visual anchor on that, you can use the View menu and select Grid. This will create a grid at the origin so that it is much easier to see where we are. The grid is helpful when you are working with single objects or smaller objects. If you are working with a map, it's not that helpful because the map is a lot bigger than this grid. So let's now get the cube into full view. For that, we will do our first shortcut, and this is F. F to frame the selected object into our view. Some shortcuts do not exist in any menu, so it's essential that you try to memorize them because using shortcuts will speed up your workflow significantly later in the process. I will put all the new shortcuts in the video description so you don't have to note them down just now. So let's scroll a bit down to zoom out. Maybe you noticed while I was pressing F and also moving the mouse, I installed a small program which shows my mouse clicks and key presses on the screen. So I do F again. So I have that small black box down here that shows my last key presses, and it also has a small history. For my mouse clicks, left click is orange, right click is blue, and middle click is green. And if I use my mouse wheel, it's these gray circles, which we already have seen. I will also put that in the video's description for you as a reference. So now when we select our cube, we will have that gizmo in the middle. This gizmo has all the axes, so X, Y, and Z in different colors. You can also find the colors back in the attributes panel. So X is red, Y is green, Z is blue. With the gizmo, you can do all kinds of transformations. If I move my mouse over the arrows over here, they get yellow. If I just grab it and drag, now I'm moving it up, now I'm moving it along the x-axis, and so on. We can not only move it, we can also rotate it. That's done with these circles. So let's rotate it a bit. And if you use these small squares at the end of the arrows, that's for scaling. So let's scale it that way, and that way, and that way. The square in the middle is for scaling on all axes. The gizmo has also different modes of operation. It can only show translation, only rotation, only scaling. That can be done with these buttons in the toolbar, translation, rotation, scaling mode. If you click that, it will change to only show the arrows for translation, or only the circles for rotation, or only the squares for scaling. The small squares between the arrows are for moving or also scaling in two directions. So here, with that square, I can move it along the X and Z axis, or here X and Y. That's the same also when scaling. You can also do it on two axes. These different modes also have a shortcut. W is for the translation mode, E is for rotating only, and R is for scaling only. So if at any point later your gizmo doesn't look the way you expect it to look, it's probably because you pressed one of these keys by accident. Just go to the toolbar and reset it to normal mode or press a key again.
Hey, thank you for sticking with me so far. If you're enjoying this, don't forget to like the video. If you subscribe, it will help you not to miss any of the future tutorials and the next part of the series. If you have questions or feedback, please put it down in the comments and I will make sure to respond to them. Thanks a lot.
We did a lot of transformations to our basic cube, and now we want to reset it to its original. For that, we also have shortcuts. You can do Alt-G to reset the location. That's now back to 0. You can see it here. Alt-R for resetting the rotation. If that doesn't work for you, that's probably because you have an AMD GPU, and the AMD tools take the Alt-R shortcut for that AMD overlay. So you might want to disable it there. And then Alt-S resets the scaling. You can see the translation and rotation are now back to 0. The scale is back to 1. Now we want to add a light to our scene. We go to Create and then Light. Now our cube turns white. It is originally white, but we didn't see it because we didn't have a light in the scene. The light has been added at the origin point 0, 0, 0, but with a rotation. You can see it in the gizmo and you can see it also in the attributes. Now we want to move the light upwards and to the side. If we try to do it now with the gizmo, it's a bit hard because the arrows are not pointing directly upwards or in the direction. And for that, we can use the local and word mode. In the toolbar, you have this house. If it's active, like blue, it is the local mode. And if you deactivate it, you are in world mode. You can see that the gizmo changes. It's now the y-axis is pointing directly upwards, and we can drag the light and move it up. We can also enter a value directly here in the attributes. So let's put the light at 25 meters. You can also drag the mouse directly here on the attributes panel, left and right, to move the items. But doing it this way is not a very fine control, so do it that way if you only need a rough control of what you're doing. Now we want to move around. There are different methods for doing that. When you're coming from a game, you're probably used to the WASD movements. You can do that also here, but you need to click the right mouse button for that to work. So click and hold right mouse button, and then you can use like S, D, A, W. But you see the movements are quite big, so you don't have a very fine control if you do it that way. The second way of moving is with the Alt key. Hold Alt and use the left mouse button. You rotate the camera. With the right mouse button, you can zoom. And with the middle mouse button, you can pan. The movement is still quite fast, as you can see, but you can change it. Down here at the right bottom, you see nav speed. It's now at 15 for me. If you use minus and plus, you can change that. So let me set it way down to 1. And if I now zoom with the Alt, you can see that it goes a lot slower. That both applies to the WASD way of moving around and to the Alt way. So depending on if your object is big or very small, you might want to change the nav speed accordingly. There is no right or wrong setting for that. I encourage you to adjust it as you go. Make it slower for smaller objects and bigger if you need to make big movements. There's also a third way of moving around, but I cannot show you that in this scene. It's this eye for the first person mode. If you are in a map with a terrain, you can also walk on the map like you are used to in the game. But for that, you need a terrain, and so we will do that later in another video where we have one.
Hey, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new today and feel ready to bring that knowledge into action. Please try it out on your own. Familiarize yourself with moving around, creating objects, transforming them, and all what we covered today, so that you are ready for the next one. See you there.